This is more than a show. This is a movement where real stories are told, where voices are heard and lives are changed. From struggle to strength, from pain to purpose. Forefront today, where voices rise, where truth is told, where truth is told, where purpose comes alive. I am DJ Quinn, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today, only on Forefront today. I am DJ Quinn, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today, only on Forefront today. Forefront today, Forefront today, Forefront today, Forefront today. Forefront today, Forefront today, Forefront today. Forefront today, Forefront today. Forefront today. Stay inspired. Stay empowered. Stay forefront. Forefront today. 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 I am DJ Quick, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today. Only on Forefront today. 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 I am DJ Queen.
Forefront today. I want to welcome you all. Good evening. Good evening. Some of you got to say good morning in the UK, California, Kenya, and other parts of the world. I want to say good night to you. This is Forefront today, and I welcome you to another powerful edition of Forefront today, where we bring meaningful stories, transformational journeys, public service, humanitarian work, leadership, community advocacy, and national building conversations to the forefront. I'm your host, R.C. Harlequin, aka DJ Quinn, and tonight we are honored to welcome a distinguished son of Guyana soil, a husband, a father, a grandfather, a public servant, a former law enforcement officer, former military serviceman, a researcher, a trainer, a community advocate, and a human resources professional, quality management practitioner, and a strategic thinker. Our guest tonight is none other than Mr. Patrick E. Mentore. Mr. Mentore's story is not a one-lane journey. His life has moved through law enforcement, military service, public relations, security, political affairs, project coordination, health sector development, even education, research, human resources, training, quality management. I'm telling you, maritime administration, cooperative credit union leadership, community policing, and grassroots advocacy. He has served in the Guyana Police Force, as you heard, the Guyana Defense Force, the United States Embassy in Georgetown, the Ministry of Health in Guyana, and Guyana Water Inc., and the Guyana Maritime Administration Department. He has also worked in education, corporate security, strategic management, and community development. Tonight, we want to bring out the full picture, not just the resume, but the man behind the service, the humanitarian, the professional, the disciplined thinker, the trainer, the researcher, the community advocate, and the Guyanese citizen who has spent decades adding value to institutions and people. Mr. Mentor, I want to say welcome to you on Forefront today. It's such a pleasure to have you on this platform. Welcome.
Good evening, Cleveland. Good evening. Thank you for having me. For a moment there, I started looking around to see who this Patrick Mentore was when I heard all those things. So I had to pinch myself and say, well, it's me. I'm the person.
You know, you are that person, and you can tell us some more about you. You know, I say all of that, but after saying all of that, who is Mr. Patrick E. Mentor?
Um, Patrick Mentore is, I think, first and foremost, someone who sees himself as a humble person, but a humble person who is not to be trifled with. Um, if I said anything else, somebody would be shouting somewhere in the ether that Mentore, you're lying because you might be humble, but you're nobody's pushover. Um, I am the person who I like to see others develop. I like development. I have spent a considerable portion of my life encouraging others to develop, encouraging communities to look for expansion through development. And I have not been hesitant about offering myself in whatever ways I feel that my contribution would help to push things forward. One thing I must say, though, is that I have said to influential people that I don't ever wish to be recommended for a position that they, in their own mind, feel I am not capable of functioning in, and I've kept to that philosophy throughout my life. I don't want anybody to say mentor is my boy and let's put mentor to do this or that when in their own hearts they don't believe I can make it.
In other words, you don't want to be a square peg in a round hole.
Right. Exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. You know, leaders, Mr. Mentor, every leader is shaped before the public ever knows their name. And you grew up in Guyana, and your life touched several communities and environments. You have lived and served in spaces connected to Georgetown, East Coast and Marara, Paradise right now. What early values help shape your discipline, your sense of service, and your concern for community, Mr. Mentor?
Um, I think that the persons who made the initial significant impact in my life were were my parents. Um, I have up to now, in spite of a few challenges, I have a deep love for reading. And my mother is the person who caused me to develop that love. I recall when we lived in Campbellville, she would take me to the market, big market, Stabrook Market. And she would take me, I always tell people this, you would see me holding on to her frock, as we call it, her dress.
Mhm.
And I would be walking, and she would stop every religious Saturday and purchase a book for me. When you go down, I think it was it might have been not the middle gate. I don't think it was the middle gate, but she would buy a book for me every Saturday. And I would be walking, holding her dress and reading the book, or at least
Wow.
looking at the book.
Right.
And I think I took my reading to a ridiculous stage where, as I grew older, I prefer to read a book before I eat. I prefer a book to a meal, and I would be reading. I Let's talk about novels. I would read 2.5 novels a day,
Wow.
and woe betide anybody who disturbed me, telling me to come and eat. I was so engrossed in reading. So, and my father, he also cultivated my love for reading because he would he used to subscribe to Reader's Digest, and he would get Reader's Digest, and he would get the Reader's Digest condensed and all of that, and I would read. And then he had a friend by the name of Alan Major. As a matter of fact, Alan Major's son spoke with me about 15, 20 minutes ago. We were both in the police force together. He was 9614. I was 9618. And Mr. Major, his father, Alan Major, was my father's friend. And he, on one of the visits that he came by our home, he said to me, I don't know, I can't recall how he raised the subject, but he asked, do you read? And I said, yes, Uncle Alan. And he said, must come by me. I have some books. And he introduced me to Perry Mason. And, that's the way things went. I never look back. And I have this love for reading. I've grown older now, and I may not read as much as I would like to. But what I have gravitated to, I've gravitated towards audiobooks where I listen.
Audiobooks.
Yes, I listen.
Okay.
But I still enjoy it. Of course, in the nights if it's light to listen, you can drop to sleep. If you get old like me, realize that.
But so far, I've heard your parents and Mr. Allen, who might have shaped your thinking. Is there someone specific that really, besides them, who shaped your early thinking?
Yes, there was Miss Joyce Stratman. I think she's a former politician's aunt. Miss Joyce Stratman in the scheme in East Rhineville, where we lived at the time, she opened the library. She was a senior mistress at the Teachers Training College, and she lived at 645 East Rhineville. I can't forget that address.
I lived at 204.
Oh, okay, right.
I lived in a circle.
Right.
Okay.
And I would go there on Saturdays and wash her car. Because she knew my mother. They were people who knew each other from Penn Street or areas like that. And I would go on Saturdays and wash her car. And the lady decided to open a library. And apparently for her, I was the obvious choice to be librarian. And that might have been about 12 or thereabouts. And I was the librarian. And obviously, this like being in, to abuse a phrase, being in hog's heaven for me, like a kid in a candy store. Because I had access now to books, I could read all the time, do the work, the administrative aspect in terms of lending books, and I had it good. She made an impression on me. You would notice that I have mentioned people who made the impression in terms of reading because that's my passion. That's my passion. There were others in life who made me understand who I am. And they kept me. One of the regrets I have in life is that for some reason, like I gave off an aura where people felt, I gotta say that now, people felt that I could not be corrected. And that was nothing further than the truth because I feel that if in some of my misguided ways, somebody had reined me in, I usually see that I might have been in a different place, But there was another man whose name was Samuel Jerrick. They call him Pang. He used to work with Sewerage Commission, Waterworks. He used to work with Waterworks.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Jerrick is somebody who's called a rough diamond. He might not have gone to high school and all of that. But I am proud to say that I knew him, and he is one of the persons that I looked at and recognized that you don't have to be sophisticated and all of that to help, to make an impression. And he made an indelible impression in my life, that one doesn't have to be flashy and fancy to contribute, to be a significant player in the lives of others.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
it.
yeah. I heard you talk a lot about books, and I used to read back in the days to read Hardy Boys,
Yes,
Nancy Drew, Harlequin Romance,
yes,
Robert Ludlum,
yes,
Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Have
yes.
you read all of those books too?
No, I used to
Harlequin
read.
Romance?
Nah. Like I felt they were too wimpy. But
Okay.
I can call one. I could call a couple that I'm sure you didn't read because you're all young. There was Billy Bunter and there was
Mm,
William. Y'all don't know about Billy Bunter and William and those things.
yeah.
I know y'all don't know. You know?
I know we read Black Midas. We
Yes, that's
read
Jan
about the
Kuru.
Maroons.
I got it somewhere
Okay.
on my bookshelf here. Jan Kuru. I basically who I met actually met him in I went to do a presentation in Brazil several years ago, 1995 or thereabouts. I went to Brazil to do um, present a paper on post-colonial Guyana in the New World Order. And I met Jan Carew there and people like Professor O.R.D. Thorne and stuff. I have a letter I found the other day that O.R.D. Thorne wrote me, and he mentioned Jan Carew's opinion of me, which was favorable, and stuff like that. So, I have been around a bit.
Yeah, you've read a lot, and later on in this interview, we'll see how your foundation as an avid reader has really caused you to acquire a whole lot of certificates and worked in so many different positions. Well, let's get into your life because this is storytelling right here on Forefront today. I want to say good night, and you could say good night to some people for us. I see Super Terry, the one man band, is peeping. Good night to you, Raquel Bob and Elroy Bob in New Jersey. Melanie Humphrey, I see you. Good night to you. And good night to you, Winston T. Jacobs, Ariana Pohl, and Kelly Harlequin. Good night to all of you who are coming on in. I know Jillian is peeping too. I hope you guys would come on in and ask some questions, man. Don't leave me alone with this interview with Mr. Mentor. This is storytelling right here in Forefront today. Thank you so much, those of you on Facebook. Who is on YouTube? If you're on YouTube, you can please also leave a comment on YouTube. We'll definitely find you. DJ Rick is on, and that's my new buddy now. He's in the house. He said blessings to us. And so, Mr. Mentor, you can say goodnight to these wonderful people.
Yes,
Also,
certainly. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's nice to be in your presence this evening. And I trust that what we have to share will be of interest, and would in some way, I hope, inspire others to, be guided by my limited experiences.
I like it when you stay right there. Somehow when you stay backward in your chair or losing your visual. So stay right
Oh,
there close and nice. All right.
okay.
Awesome. But thank you for that. We got to always step back in and welcome the people who are taking this time to be with us. People got lots of things to do. And we're not talking about beating up women and all those crazy stuff. We're talking about a man's journey. We're talking about something that can make an impact in our communities. And so folks might just swing by, just peep in and swing out because we're not talking about violence and stuff here. So I understand. But was public service something you planned, or did life gradually guide you into that direction, Mr. Mentor?
Um, Public service. As a matter of fact, let me just step back a bit. My first occupation was with William Faculties Limited. I started working there at the age of 16. I got into public service by way of the Ghana Police Force at the age of 21. And that was my first stint. From there, I don't know that I can say I saw public service as the thing. I don't know that I was thinking along such lofty planes. I went into a job, I got a job, and from one job to the next. And I can't say that, in all fairness and in all honesty, that I saw public service. I didn't even think about public service per se. you know. However, um, based on how my life turned out, um, I saw myself um, giving giving um, to my community in terms of ideas, um, giving to youth. As a matter of fact, I did a stint at University of Guyana doing tutorials where I had a couple of notable personalities in my tutorial classes, and I did some work with Crystal Labor College, where I taught young and not so young adults, people who might have been using Crystal to get into UG um, as one of the qualifications, as it were, or if you will, to get into UG.
I
So
can understand it. I used to use that myself. I started there and trying to
yeah,
get into UG, but then I migrated. Yeah, I know
yeah.
what you mean.
So that aspect, one of the things I've said to people when it comes to imparting knowledge or sharing knowledge is that it it has never ceased to amaze me when I see the look like a light bulb light up in somebody's, boom, they just got it. You know, they got it. It means that you've not been wasting your time in front of that class, or I don't stay one place, I move around. But when you see the illumination, the light of understanding light up, it tells you that you're on the right track, you know. That's the way, that's it. And I might be jumping all over the place, but I have found that ideas are not to be kept within you. And people who know me, people who've been associated with me, I think they can attest to that. I could recall as head of a certain area, sending emails at 3 o'clock in the morning to my people. And the idea was not to pressure them. The idea was, I got a thought, let me share it with, let's
Before you
see,
forget,
Kenneth.
before you
Yes,
forget to remember.
correct. Let me share this with Kenneth, or let me share this with Travana, who, by the way, is Dr. Travana Aziz. She's now at the University of Guyana.
Awesome.
I'm not saying that they must leave what we had planned to do for that week, but I must say, Kenneth, I just thought of this, and you might want to look at this while you are on this aspect of the project, you know. And I think they appreciated it. They would make a joke of it and say, like, you don't sleep. 3 o'clock in the morning, you send anything. I say, I don't tell you, wake up and look at it. I send it, then you can look at it later in the morning. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yep.
You know.
Yep. Good, let's do that.
I must say, there was a good bunch of people I worked with, you know.
Awesome. I have Winston is saying that he worked with Alfred and Ulrich Mentor in the past and did all their science back in the days. He's asking if you're related to them, Ulrich and Alfred Mentor.
Quite frankly, I cannot point to the bloodline, so to speak. But I know Alfred. On one occasion, Alfred said to his wife, he's a mentor, we're related. And obviously, I mean, I say to everybody, all the mentors are related. I was in Mario. A week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. And a young lady saw me when I was about to book in at the hotel, and she said, "You, Mr. Mentor?" And I said, "Yes," because she had the names. So I said, "Yes." And she gave me her name. Can't remember it right now. And she said her father is on the mentor side, you know. And we spoke, we took out photographs and stuff like that. So I tell people plain, all the mentors related. If there are, wherever they are, and they say they're a mentor and they say we related, we related.
So
I like
we are
some,
one family. Huh?
yeah,
So
right.
we are one family. Chung Lee MIP saying good night to us. Good night to
Yes.
you, Chung
Good evening,
Lee.
good
Good night to
evening.
you. And Ariana Poole is saying a nice topic. Ariana Poole, welcome on in and good night to you all. So,
Thank you. Good evening.
you know, it's storytelling here in Forefront today, and And like I said, we're not going to be talking about a lot of other stuff that people come on social media for, because my focus here is to spotlight people who are in the business of doing great things, making an impact in this world. And I single them out, and I have conversations, and I have to know that you are, interested in still making impact in this world, edifying people, supporting communities and our youths. And so, Mr. Mentor, it's my privilege to have you here as a long time friend. You and I met while we were studying to be forensic technicians at the headquarters of the police department,
Correct.
right? Remind me of me back then. I met some people last weekend, and I have to ask them, was I a bad person? Did I do wrong? I was apologizing. I was like, man, I can't remember myself too much. But tell me, what was that like in the class with you there, Mr. Mentor?
Let me tell you, Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn was a chap, he doesn't accept things at face value. Harley Quinn questions things, right? That's a fact of life that we had to live with. We did the course with the forensic lab. There was the fingerprint.
Fingerprint,
Yeah.
handwriting.
At the time, I
Yeah.
was with document examination section, and
Okay.
you had come, I think, from Linden. I think you had
I
come.
no, I had left boredom and height, and I went back into police services, regular police service. I was at the
Uh,
outpost, and then they sent me for the training in '88.
Correct, and I also know, but people wanted to know how come Quinn didn't end up in fingerprint, as we call the section, because you were doing so well. You were doing so well, but a board whispered in my ear that Quinn might have deliberately flunked certain things. Not might have. He deliberately flunked certain because he didn't want to stay in fingerprint.
No, I
I
didn't want to be in headquarters at all, man. I didn't want to deal with
I, I
headquarters.
just tell you, I sell it or buy it, right? Good.
For sure, for sure. But it was good training, and we had Mr. Thomas did a good job. Was a great teacher,
Yes,
and
yes.
we like, yeah. I was. They said I was top in the class. I was like, and the forest trees, and I have to stay in the headquarters. I'd be like, oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not tapping this class. No, sir, I'm not staying at headquarters. Sometimes you at a fork in your life, and you make some choices. It could have been a better. I don't know where I would have been now. I probably would have worked my way up to crime chief or something. But somehow at that time, I didn't feel like I want to be part of headquarters. And then we have to make
Exactly.
decisions, even while we're young, at age 20, 22, 23. We still have to decide on where we want to go. It's like I could tell you that I've had access to marijuana at age 14, 15. And I know from since then, it's not for me. I'm not going to have it. And so we have
Mhm.
to make decisions, even at an early age, where we want to be, who we want to be. And so I'm glad that I was able to meet you and some other good guys. When I see you guys now, after all these years, I mean, you guys have to remind me of some stories, man. Y'all embrace me, y'all show me love, and we have mutual respect for each other. And it's always a pleasure to meet my fellow retired police officers. And you are one of those guys who have definitely be looked up to because of your eloquence, your intellect, and your deportment. And so thank you so
You can
maintaining
make me
that
look
over the
over my
years.
shoulder again to see who you're talking about. Anyway, you mentioned something about making decisions. When I was in high school, I had a teacher. Her name was Rosamond Charles. She subsequently renamed herself along the lines of the names of the ancestors. Rosamond Adu, I think she became. But I recall I was in one of those phases where you tend to be you tend to be kicking up your heels and getting a little rebellious, and losing sight of what is priority. And I recall Miss Adu saying to me, Miss Charles at the time saying to me, she wanted to see my father or my parents. Well, I ain't putting down the youths of today, but I wasn't like them youths of today who ain't gonna tell the parents anything. I'm kind of fearless. And I told the old man that Miss Charles wanted to see him. And he came to the school and he went to Miss Charles. I could never forget her and forget what she said. I may not remember the exact words, but I'll try. She said to him, your son is a very good student. but I do not know what is wrong with him. And this is the part now. She said, if your son is to go into a life of crime, he will create problems for the authorities. And I said to myself, if this is her perception of me, and I respected her a lot, it doesn't girl. If this is her perception of me, you know something? Was she seeing in me that I so good, I can put it to good uses instead of going bad. You understand?
Yeah, yeah,
Instead of going to a life of crime that yeah, she didn't say I would go there, but she said if I were to ever go there, right, I would create problems. And I said, this is, see the kind of brilliance. Let me use the word brilliance in me. Let me put it in the right way,
yeah.
and
But I'm glad you did, because same thing I say, because a lot of folks takes us for granted when we simmer down and be calm and cool and deal with situations. Because I could have gone there. I didn't have a big brother in the village who fought for me, or a father who come out and fight for me, and I had to fend for myself, and I did that well. And
yeah,
when I think back about my life, I could have gone into some real badness, some real criminal things, because I've
yep,
seen some things and some people try me.
hmm
But I'm glad that I took this fork in life that led me to who I am now, that I can sit in front of you and we can have this kind of conversation. But
yeah.
when you look back, though, when you look back at your upbringing, what lessons from Guyanese villages like Paradise and family life and community life that still guide you like today? I mean, I know that some core values come out from where you live in Campbellville. You lived somewhat in Kitty, perhaps. You lived in North Rumville. You lived quite a few places, East
Yeah.
Rumville.
I was a
Um,
kind of nomad. I was a I was a kind of nomad.
People say
Involuntarily, of
people
course.
get
I
a no
understand.
mass, but you get a lot of mass. I mean, Rolling Stone, you weren't that like a Rolling Stone, right? People say Rolling Stone got us no mass. Do you feel like a Rolling Stone, or did you capture some experiences, some good values from these places you live?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I would put it this way: that by looking at the negative things, I was able to develop the positive approach. By observing the negatives that were going on around me, I was able to um, recognize that I needed to make that choice to stay on track, stay on track, and not be. Of course, I got diverted a few times, but I think that's natural. Um,
Yeah.
no, I grew up in the scheme, East Rhineville, right? I could recall a friend of mine who said to me one time that he was surprised when I told him I never really knew. He was surprised when I told him I used to live in the East Rhineville. I have never been ashamed of living in East Rhineville. But my friend, a very good friend, a person I respect, he said, "So all right, surprised when you tell me that you grew up in this scheme." And I guess that outburst, if you will, mirrored a thought that others have, that the scheme, at least I don't think the thing so no, that the scheme has produced
Produce.
nobody good. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, and I think I must say this, I am very, very active on Facebook. I think that at my age, I have nothing to do. Nobody's finding anything for me to do. I make myself a nuisance on Facebook. I know that irritates some people. And
It's good knowledge, good nuggets you drop over there. Thank you.
yeah, and one said something the other day. A girl was making a complaint. Just forgive me for touching on this. A young lady made a complaint about a taxi driver and what have you. And somebody, I normally jump over these things and keep going around movie. But I saw him mention, um, just look at where she live in. In other words, he's not surprised that that happened to her because it's where she live. And I asked the question, so what does where she lives, what does it have to do with anything? And the chap tried to abuse me, but you know, when you got commanded the language, you don't cost them and carry on like I might have done if I
All
know
right.
other people. If other people didn't used to read things, I might tell you something hurtful. But I just asked. I said all I did. Another person jumped in and say wanted to say I'm dumb for asking the question. So and I said, all I did was ask what it has to
What it
do
has to
with
do.
the complaint
Living the
she's
scheme.
making.
Yeah, where she
And they
lives.
finished with me, they're done. I try to be cool and measured as against who I was years ago, right?
Right.
Um, and I'll tell you something. I recall my mother saying to me years ago, and this will give you an idea of who I was. My mother said to me years ago that if I didn't curb my temper, she was afraid that I would either get in trouble with law for harming somebody or somebody would harm me, right? And she used the extreme, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And you see, those are the little nuggets in your life that you tend to listen and you say to yourself, I ain't going down the road.
Yeah, I'm not
So
going.
over the
I'm
years,
not just like that.
I've tried to temper myself. I've not been successful all the time, right? And that's why I said to somebody the other day, these days I feel calm. When I driving down the road, people can bowl from all angles. And I would just I put on some kind of jazz swing or something, and I listen to it and I cool in my head. And they can do it like years ago, I might get in a tizzy,
Mm.
you know?
But you find people take you for granted when that happens, right? They think you're so cool, and they underestimate your ability to respond. But
But you know also that some people could look at you and realize it's an hour tree, right? You know a hour tree, right? You know a warrow, remember?
yeah, yeah.
You ever see a monkey
It,
jumping on a warrow tree?
no,
Yeah? You
not,
don't ever
not
see
really.
a monkey will jump on all the trees. You would never see him jumping on a warrow tree. Never.
Yeah,
So some people would look at you and realize this is on a warrow tree. They're going there.
yeah. Don't mess with that one.
Right.
But you man, I'm telling you, your formal service journey includes Ghana Defense Force,
Yeah.
where you were there from 1977 to 1985. Then you served as a company orderly sergeant, and then NCO in charge of government accounting to the
Yeah.
finance department, Second Battalion, Ghana Defense Force. Before that, 1974, 1977, you served as the assistant instructor in the tactical
Yes.
service unit of the Guyana
Yeah.
Police Force. Let us talk about that discipline foundation. What did military service teach you about order, accountability, command, administration, and responsibility?
Okay. I mentioned the AI with that was a bit a man called Jack Elvis. 7th to 28th Sergeant Jack, we call Jack Elvis, right? I always tell people that if Jack had not met his end the way he did, right? He got into an accident in quarantine with one of them police code vehicles.
Okay.
I would there was nothing stopping me. I tell people that because as a matter of fact, for what it is worth, Jack had a beautiful word of command, right? A powerful word of command, and they said the sincerest form of flattery is imitation or something like that. And I used my voice the way Jack used his, right? To the point where there were times when, at least on one occasion, I think a senior officer, can't remember if it's Francis Duncan Clark or it was Squaddy Duncan, came out, they thought it was Jack Elvis's word of command. It was me. People said, no, a lot of people do not remember. There were a few people like the late Golden, 9681, I think he might have been Golden, who died last year, who reminded me that I was an AI when he was a recruit, you know? And you remind me of a few of the things that I used to say, to them when they're a bit slack. But very few people recall that. And it's not to me to really remind them because I ain't got no kudos to get or credit to get out of that. But yeah, so that's a very good question you ask. I'll tell you why. That when I was in training school, right? Of course, nobody really likes training school. You're learning, yes, and we learned in those days. I don't know that the teacher know, but that's another conversation. But you learned a lot of things, and you learned to conduct yourself. You strove to be a credit to the force. Remember, there was a mirror in the barak room, and it would have at the top, "Am I accredited to the force?" When you walk in to go to the door to go, there is a mirror right there, and you need you well outfitted, and there's the last question you see before you leave the barak room: "Am I accredited to the force?" And I think in our days we strove to be accredited to the force. The person who made me recognize in myself my ability, there were a few of them. There was Courtney Lane, right? He was an assistant. Well, he retired, I think, as a superintendent. There was Frances Duncan Clark. Can't mention anything without mentioning Frances Duncan Clark. There was Courtney Lane and Frances. And I could recall Courtney Lane calling me a D. Out of the blues, and said he wanted me to form a debating team at the
Debates,
TSC.
yeah. Back
Huh?
in those days, debate was a thing back
Yeah,
in those days.
yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I had been on the debating team when I was in training school, right? It was myself, 9611 Peter Lindo, and I think, I don't know if 9606 Jordan was on that team or if he was on the team at the TSU. But I had my debating thing. I got best speaker in the debate. In the finals, it was against B Division, that's Borbis, and they beat us. We were in training school, right? And then, so Francis called me, Mr. Lane called me, and then he said, he wanted me to form a debating team for the TSU. And we did the debate, right? Of course, I had my own view on a particular moot, but one of my colleagues, he opposed it, and I think he opposed it on grounds of sentiment. We lost the debate because I felt that we had arguments to support the other aspect, the other side of the debate.
Opposing, you were the opposing team.
Yeah, I think we were the opposing, right? But that was what on the bridge. And the other thing was when Francis called me, there was boxing going on. They used to get championships. And Francis said to me, "I want you to be the official second, for one of the corners. I think it was the blue corner or red." And, these things happen. And I did not spend much time pondering why. I think sometimes significant things happen in our lives that we do not spend the time reflecting that we ought to. We should spend the time reflecting as to why, instead of just taking it for granted. And I think I took a lot for granted, and it might have been for the worse, or it might have been for the better. I don't know, because I can remember something whilst working at Fogarty's, right? I just want to reinforce this point. I started working as a cash boy at Fogarty's. And also, I used to get a lot of books to read on, we call it workers' book. He was signed for a book. There was this English woman called named Miss Austin. She'd married a Guyanese engineer. So Miss Austin was a supervisor in the book section. And she would sign out books, you get to borrow as an employee, you get to borrow books and you carry back. So I got to feed my hunger for reading. And so, but I noticed that after I became a clerk, I was transferred from stationery department that I was working in. I was transferred to places like the cigarette counter, the drug counter, the pet counter, gents department, supermarket. I was being transferred, right? I never heard any negative, what's the word? I'm trying to find the word, but I never heard any negative thing about my performance or anything. But I am moved all over. Other people are not being moved like me. And I got the opportunity in 1973 to leave Fogarty's. And I wrote to leave. And Miss Prasad, Dolores Prasad, she was my supervisor at the drug counter. Miss Prasad asked me, she said, I heard that you're leaving. What's the matter? And I said, Miss Prasad, you know, I'm being moved all over the place. I don't know. I mean, I ain't getting to settle down. And the lady said something to me. But you see, the thing with me is that when I do something, I don't backpedal from it. I don't I don't take it back. And that's a bad habit or a bad way. And she said, don't you think that the reason for you being moved around is that you are being groomed for other things? I didn't think about that. You understand? Miss Dolores Prasad, she used to live in Albaistong, Wandem Street, no, Prela Wandem Street. She told me that. And from then on, you know, I left, I still left, and I went my way. But I've never forgot what she said. And therefore, it taught me to some extent to try not to um, take things for granted. But still, I used to do it because in the force, you know, you get certain recognition, and you just take it for granted.
But I want to stay in the force because I don't want to forget to remember that how the discipline services would have shaped you, and you know, you learn some core values, and I want you to advise our young people, should they choose law enforcement or the military for career pathway. And I don't want to bounce up this segment. I want you to speak to our youths about that. Your choice was you started at faculties at age 16. For me, I started in Senado Textile Mill at age 15 or 16 too. I had to wait until I meet a certain age before they hired me. So my sister was the foreman, my brother-in-law was the welfare officer, and I had some friends who were foremen in the plant, but I couldn't be hired because I was too young. So
Yeah.
I volunteered to clean the yard. So I was picking up dog dung and garbage or whatever I can until I meet the age. When my birthday came around, then they hired me, and then I went into the plant. But I was at an early age. But then I got my son's mother pregnant while there, and my friends were going to write the test to go into the police services, and that's how I met another fork in the road, that I chose to go there so I could make some more money so I could take care of my child who was in the belly.
Yeah.
So we make decisions because of our circumstance, our environment, and all manner of stuff. But but if you ask me if I admired law enforcement as a career, no. My mom had me down to be some lawyer or somebody else to be the force in the family to do something significant. But here am I now, got her pregnant, and I'm in the police service trying to get extra money, more money, because I got to take care of a
Yes.
son who's on the way.
Yes.
What will you say to our young people now in decision making, age 16, 17, just getting out of high school, especially in Guyana? Because I know back in the day, I want to stay here for a little bit, because I know back in the day, I had an opportunity to go to what you call youth corps. Back in the days was national service, YSM. You learn to make rolling pin, beater, scrubbing board, use your hands to make wooden stuff. What would be your advice to our young people now in terms of choosing a career pathway? You haven't gone to faculties, then to the military, then back to police service, then you left police service, you went back into the military. Talk to our young people about that.
I think that might rate as the toughest question you'll ask me for the evening.
It's storytelling here, man. I ask tough questions
Yeah.
for storytelling.
You know, in today's world, would I advise a youngster to join the police force? As it currently is structured, as it is currently composed, I don't think, in all fairness to that youngster, I would tell him to go. I'll tell you why. I don't know if you've been exposed to my writings. I write a lot on law enforcement. I used to write a lot, and I started back recently. And those things that I write are not intended to be a condemnation of the force per se. They are intended to be suggestions that the force can look at and say, hey, look, this is implementable, this can work, this can take a bit of tweaking, but you see, you can have all manner of modern amenities and tools to do the job. But if you do not have the concomitant attitudinal change, the behavior change, consistent with modern demands, you're not going anywhere. And therefore, in my view, as much as I love the police force, as much as I have great regard for the army, I am not sure that I would put myself in a situation to advise any youngster to join those organizations without prejudice. But um, you know, and the things that I would call the ideal, if you will, loosely speaking, the ideal, they are not impossible but to to attain, to achieve, but it bothers me to know that um, I'm trying to pick my language properly. I as much as I really don't care who I match, but I want to put your show in anything. As much as I believe in advancement, I believe in development, I believe that democratic policing, for example, requires certain approaches. It requires refraining from certain actions. And if you can't do that, I stay out of that. I stay out of that. As I say, I don't want to put your show in anybody's bad books. Suffice it to say that I am very frank when I put things on my Facebook page, right? And I think people understand where I am or where I'm coming from, right? For example, I have argued that police officers, gazetted officers, should be required as an annual assessment feature, should be required to prepare position papers on issues that, if not directly related to policing, must be tangentially related. Because nearly everything you can think about would have some bearing on law enforcement and how law enforcement or how the laws are enforced. And if you don't do that, you got to encourage your officers to think. You got to encourage them. I know policing. I know I joined the force in 74. So I know what police men and women do when they knock off. And I was happy to see that in Larry Lewis's time, he encouraged his officers and to some extent the other ranks to attend university and gain a tertiary level qualification. But having all of that is not all. Being able to say that you've got a first degree or a second degree or a master's or PhD, it doesn't impress me unless I can see the contribution you're making to better the organization and by extension, better the lot of your members and by extension, improve their own attitude and performance in the job. Otherwise, don't talk to me. I really don't want to hear anything. That's me. I kind of give short shrift to that. But one of the things I tell people, I say the way I think I've got to give credit to the discipline services. The way I think, I tend to think critically. I don't know if that is a feature now in the makeup of people, of members of the discipline services. I tend to think critically. I'm not being a revolutionary, or I'm not objecting to things for the sake of objecting. I'm not going to change what is not broken. I might seek to improve on what is there, right? I recall applying for a job in the region several years ago. And I had to do something called a psychometric evaluation. And I would recommend psychometric evaluation for every member or every person who intends to join the discipline services. It helps you. One of the things, for example, I've advocated is to develop an early intervention system to identify potential troublemakers, to identify potential problem people, and to deal with it. You don't want to make them feel guilty. You just want to put in place the kind of mechanism to help them not to be bad policemen and women, or not to be abusers, as it were.
So in other words, this system helps you to discover your profile, your strengths,
Definitely,
your weakness,
definitely, and
your
to see if there's
interests.
a job for you. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And right here in the States, we use a system called RISIC. And we always I encourage our youths in schools
What do you call it?
to get RISEC, RIASEC, RIASEC. Every
SEC.
person needs SEC, RISEC. You go RISEC.com and do a profile on yourself. You just get out of the military, you just lost a job, you're over 50, you just get out of school. Try it. Try to know who you are, what makes you tick, what is your interest. Some people might say, I want to be a nurse, but do you like to see blood? Do you like to see people dead? Some people want to be a cop, but do you know that being a cop you can be shot? Do you know what is the dangers of being a cop? So folks, this is the way to understand your interests, your strengths, if this is really what is for you. And so I would love to know about that one that you guys have in Guyana. So when you have a chance, drop that in the chat for the people so that they can do that assessment in Guyana. But here in the USA, I am going to drop mine in. And so you guys who are looking for work, RISEC, look it up.
Yeah, I wrote it down here. Yeah,
And you guys can do a profile on yourself, enhance yourself, improve on your resume, improve on your attitude.
Yep.
People now are looking for people who would make a difference in the organization, not because you look good, smell good,
Yep.
and speak well. How
Yep.
are you going to add value to my company? How are you going to fit into my team? Are you a team player? And you talk about something called critical thinking. And a lot of times we don't want to dive into these things that we learn at home and while we're growing up in school in our villages. It's something, soft skills. It's like 15 of them. Critical thinking is one of them.
Mhm.
And a lot of us are deficient in when it comes to emotional intelligence.
Mhm.
We're not very good in time management. We're not very good in networking, communication. We need to develop in all these areas to be a well-rounded applicant for jobs, especially now that we're over 50 years old.
Yeah.
And our youth coming out of school need to understand what is soft skills against hard skills.
Yeah.
And I only mention that because I heard you talk about critical thinking.
Yeah.
So right now on Forefront today, you guys who are here, thank you so much for coming on in, Sharon, and thank you so much for dropping your comments in. But when your mind is stretched, Patrick, your mind is stretched, it should not return to its original state. And that's the impact you and I can make collaboratively here. I see Otto Martin was peeping in. You can learn so much from Otto Martin. When your mind is stretched, it's supposed to not return to its original state. You have to do better. Be the
Correct.
best version of you yesterday
Mhm.
for tomorrow. And so I like it when you remind me of soft skills when you mention critical thinking. But we're talking about you as your stories. You are my storyteller here tonight, and you were talking about accountability, command, administration, and responsibility. But as an NCO involved with government accounts and finance, you had to handle responsibility without trust. With trust, I would say, with trust. How did that shape your professional standards? So, you have to be a trusted man
Yeah,
in
because
finances.
as a matter of fact, you'll be required to go into the interior with money to pay people. You got to go to Essequibo, you got to go to Maburumo. You alone. You ain't going with any escort. You alone on a Browning on your waist. Or
Right.
if you go in Mufti, you got your firearm wherever. But of course there will have been temptations. And temptations take root and are acted on in Slack systems.
Yeah.
When a system does not pay much attention to accountability, that is where temptations take root and run haywire. So yes, but I think one of the things that will have, I think, guided not only me but my colleagues was that we felt good about doing what we were doing. We felt good doing it. Um, Notwithstanding that you might have held a technical position, if you were to call it that, you will also have to do your military courses, right? Uh, you couldn't get out of that, and with all that accompanies that, you had to be a part of it. Okay, so that was it. I mean, it helped. My thing is that I think I've been helped a lot because I mentioned critical thinking. It has helped me in terms of observation, which is one of the basic things you do, and noting the unusual, as we heard when we joined the training school. And so you've brought that into your adult life and to your post uniform services life, and you tend to know when, or to sense when it's time to move from a spot that will be coming from the spot. You know, uh, what I have what I have done, I have transformed, or I have sought to use the knowledge that I gained. And the knowledge might not have been gained directly from the agencies, but it might have been gained from reading and,
Cumulative. Yeah, cumulative and yeah.
yes, and from training in other areas. And what I have done, I've been doing, is using that knowledge, as I mentioned earlier, in an advisory capacity, suggesting what is to be done, etc., etc. But so that has been my thing. I can't butter it up more than that. I can't add more to it than that. Um, and it's not to say I'm the kind of flower that I beat the drum when it's time for me to beat the drum. But I think that was it for me.
Mhm. But let's stay a little bit on what did the Defense Force teach you that stayed with you throughout your career? Because
Camaraderie.
military is different from camaraderie.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll take that.
camaraderie. I'll tell you what. I've always said to those who would listen that I have always felt closer to the GDF than to the police force. Why? Because of the same camaraderie. And I don't know if it's because, I don't know, but I've always said so. Even while I was, in the force in the early days, I would say to my squad people like Peter, and then I would say, the army. I really prefer the army because the army has this brotherhood, whereas I felt that in the police force there was uncalled for competition. Competition that was more, to my mind, destructive than that would knit people together. I felt so.
Awesome. Winston gave me a 9.5 for my good behavior in law enforcement. Would you agree? When you know me there at headquarters, we have trained together. Mr. Mentor, would you agree with 9.5 or you give me a 10? Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Frozen. He is frozen. Well, I was talking to Mr. Patrick Mentore, and when we come back, I'll talk more about his.
Oh, yeah,
You're
you're
back.
Yeah.
Okay, I was saying Winston gave me a 9.5 on my conduct, my behavior, as you know it. Would you agree with Mr. Winston Jacob that 9.5 is a good score for me?
Yeah. I can use. you know, some people do what I call a perverse thing. I'll give you an example. There was a lecturer at university who believed that nobody could get full 100% and all of that. I call it perverse, right?
Okay.
So in a bit of perversity on my part, I won't give you 10 I do. No. They always
Okay.
leave back something.
There's always room for improvement.
leave back something for improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, when we come back, we'll be talking about maritime administration. I want to say goodnight to Ms. Laverne Vifo. She also worked over there at maritime administration.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and also, Winston is saying what seems to change with police back in the days comparing to the ones today. And it's a question he's asking: what seems to change with police back in the days comparing to the ones today? Corruption is so much in the police department today. That's a question I would have, I would not think about asking. That's a great question, Mr. Mentor. You can answer that, or you wanna?
Yes, I can answer definitely,
Okay.
and answer it in a simple way. Lack of accountability. I'll tell you what. In our day, you do nonsense, you get it wrong your neck or your clap. Today, if you look at the um, the number of complaints about police abuses, about human rights violations by police, and it seems as if nobody feels the pain of wrongdoing. It means that nobody feels. People feel that they can get away with these things. They have some sense of impunity that is fueled by immunity. You know,
Mm,
so they feel that they're immune. But I'll tell you what, and that's the difference to answer Winston's question. That's the difference. Is that in our day, is that you do wrong, you know for certain you're gonna get your neck.
yeah.
They have Godfather.
5 days pay. 5 days pay. You get taken from you.
I guess
Even if your
CB and
boots don't look good.
yes,
Yeah.
right. But today you can see somebody beating somebody. It is uncalled for. It is unjustified, and nothing happens. At least we don't hear about anything happening. And the only way you can gain the public's trust, and the only way you can restore yourself in the confidence of the people is by ensuring that they know that you've taken action. But I think there is a kind of I want to find the right word, but I want to talk about a mindset, right? But I already described the mindset. There is a mindset which apparently is operating at certain levels that if you discipline these people for wrongdoing, is that you won't be able to get them to do your wrongdoing when you want them to do it. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
Wow. Winston is saying Mr. Paul Slow had a good program this morning. I don't always get a chance to look it up, but he always got a good program going on over there. He always
Yeah.
talk about the things. He's always bringing stuff to the forefront. And I got a friend in Canada. We go into school together, man. She said in Canada, community policing builds trust, while at the same time, everyone is involved with the safety of each other. Talk to us about what you think about community policing, which you used to call vigilante back in the day.
I'm glad that you raised that because I was wondering how you could get to stick that one in. In my area in Paradise where I am the person who initiated the moves to form a community policing group, what they might call neighborhood police in certain states, etc. I am the person who did it, right? And I went around and I got a few persons who were interested, including Major Nurse, a former major from the army, and Dwayne Norris, and he's now in charge of port security in the country, and a few neighbors, a few persons, males. Sadly, two of them passed away: Dr. Kenrick Elias and Johnson, who was a boy from G2 branch in the army. And we formed it, and we would do patrols in the night. But I just want to stick this one in. I am the person who formed it, came up with the idea. I am the person who did the groundwork. But when it was time to select office bearers, I refused. And they insisted to the point that they said, look, you've been doing a lot of writing. If you want chair, you want vice chair, you're going to be the secretary then. And I can't fight no more, right? So I did that. But the point I think I am making is that as much as I might go ahead and come up with ideas, I am not the type to really want to run the front and be the face.
Yeah.
I am not like that. I do my best work in the background. That's the way I do my
Right.
best.
But you do agree that community policing will make a difference in Guyana. Let's talk about Guyana because you're there. Will you think it will
Um,
make a difference in what's happening now in
as
our
a concept,
communities?
it can, but it's a concept that is not being applied in the way it is supposed to be applied. I am trying to be
All right.
very,
You're trying
I'm
to be
trying
very
to be
politically correct. I
correct.
understand.
And politically is a nice word you use here. I like that. So you get it gist, right? I'm trying to be politically correct.
Okay. All right. I'll move on from there because I want to protect you. You're my friend, and I don't want to
Nah,
this
no, no,
platform
no,
to
no, no, no,
cause
no.
any.
People know I'm a very, very frank. Once I'm not libeling or slandering somebody. I say what I gotta say, right? I'm saying that as a concept, community policing can work, but in the
Okay.
Guyana, how it is being applied in Guyana is not necessarily in keeping with the purity of the concept.
Okay. I take that. I take that. My buddy DJ Rick, he's all Rick Patterson. He's want to know if you remember Peter Lindo,
Yeah,
who
this was
worked with.
started 9611. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, make sure you send me his number so I could pass it on to my buddy Ulrich. You
yeah,
want to get in touch with Mr. Lindo. All
yes.
right. All right. Good.
Yeah. I'll send you his number.
All right. So we're talking about you storytelling here. I was going to take a break when you stepped away there. You got to tell me when you want to take a break. Otherwise, I'll get you here for the full time that I
No,
will
you.
exhaust
I'm
exhaust
here.
my questions. Good. Good. Uh, so we talked about the defense force, and uh, I want to talk about TSU now because I'll have a lot of old police on here now that you might have trained. How did your early experience as an assistant instructor in the tactical services unit prepare you for later leadership roles? Seems to me like in that role, you had power over constables, you had power over people. You know, that was a leadership, one of the soft skills, leadership. How did that really prepare you for later leadership roles, right?
I don't think that it as a tool, as a drill instructor or an assistant instructor, um, it had much to do in terms of leadership. I don't think so. What the the principal role of a drill instructor is to instill in the subjects, if you will, the trainees, the um, the understanding that they must act on orders, right? I would say that being in a position to give orders does not make you a leader, right?
Okay.
Because I know some tyrants who give orders, but they know nothing about leadership skills. But
You're talking the story. You're telling story here. You're
yeah,
telling some stories.
yeah. So I believe that being on the drill square, all it does, as I said before, is to um, instill whatever into the recruits that instinctive obedience to a command, right? Since you get the command, the reflex is OB, right turn, right? Um, because it helps this instinctive response to a command helps. It can help you. It can save your life. But there is another aspect. People ought not to feel because you expect that somebody will instinctively or automatically respond to a command that they must necessarily respond to an unlawful command.
Okay.
People must
Okay.
understand the part,
All
right?
right.
People got to understand that. And therefore, in terms of uh, in terms of leadership and the drill sphere, I don't think leadership is necessarily applied there. In terms of the ability to command men and all of that, you've got to understand as a leader that your men and women are looking for you to look out for them. they are not expecting you to send them in a situation that you yourself would not go. They are, you must demonstrate to your men and women that whatever it is you tell them to do, you are capable of doing it. And you would do it if needs be. Because I mean, as a leader, you really can't go running in front. You somebody got to stay where they can have an overall
Command, command center.
yeah,
Yeah, of
they
course.
can have an overall appreciation of what's going on and be able to use the resources in the way that they can be most effective.
Yeah. I think you're kind of modest. You don't want to accept the role that you were a leader in the TSU, but that's okay. You're a modest man. I can understand it, but you were among those who helped shape communication between the police and the public, and you work with in the media as a media liaison, public relations, public education, community relations, and strategic response. What was the Guyana Police Force like during that period, Mr. Mentor?
Um, During the time when I was actually, I was the first public relations and press officer. There will have been public relations officers before, but there was no public relations and press officer combined in one person or one office, as it were, right? In my time, the force was, I think, in a state of, in its relations with the media, it was a kind of uneasy relationship. All right, um, where when I came onto it, I recognized that there was a lot to be done in terms of quoting the media. Quoting the media meant for me being straight with the media. But at the same time, the media must understand that not at all times and in everything they would have everything at the time they wanted, right? I think I gained their trust to the extent where they called me and told me things without requiring to know from me what the police side was. They called me in the hope that I would follow up on matters that they would report to me. And of course, there were occasions when they would ask for a scoop. And I would say to them, I do not give scoops. What I can do when it is, when I get the green light to release any information, I am not saying I wouldn't call you first, but bear in mind, I'm giving you no scoop. In other words, the scoop is that them alone get it. You know what I mean? That's how they read it. And that's how I understood it. And I'm saying, no. If Cleveland and maybe got a good relationship, as indeed I had with nearly all the media houses, and Cleveland is the man who called and said, Tour, I understand that XYZ happened. What's the position? I say, I cannot say anything on that at the moment because I don't have all the facts. And Cleveland said, look, man, you got to give me the scoop body. And I said, Cleveland, I ain't promising no scoop. But I'm not saying I wouldn't call you first and let you hear about it. You understand? So Cleveland understands that, yes, he can be called, just like the others can be called, but I didn't want to create, per se, an uneven playing field. I didn't want to find myself caught. Because when you get caught in those kinds of stuff, is that you end up being obligated to people,
Yeah.
right? They call you and you think they made you feel that you must be obligated to give them. And it's going to reach a stage at some point where you're going to be caught between on the hands of a dilemma between, being unprofessional in some respect. You're going to be caught.
Yeah. But how did you jump from TSU to being a public relations and press communicator?
No, well, actually, I was at TSU as a constable, right?
Okay.
And I'd moved on, went to the army, came back, etc. Became an officer and stuff. I was the public relations and press officer before he was sent back to TSU. And there's a horse of another color, I will tell you. Because of personality conflicts, I was removed from that quite unceremoniously and sent to TSU. But here the part, and this one here is the stuff that tales are made of.
Storytelling. Tell us,
They,
Mr. Mentor.
the decision to return me to the TSU, or to send me, don't put the return, to send me to TSU as an officer,
Right.
was not a decision that was made to develop me, to broaden my horizons or what have you. If you recall, TSU was, I know it is still seen as the dumping ground, the punishment place, the gulag for the force, right? Siberia, wherever you call it. And so I was sent there as an act of spite to punish me. And
So you got some lemons, and you're telling us how you make the lemonade with the lemons, kind of. Got some
right.
essence with it, some
Well,
Astoria bitters, and some sugar.
Hear it, Cleveland, hear the part. You make me remember something. Well, so when I got there, I ran into a little flack with my contemporaries, the officers. They felt that because of my qualifications, I come there for OCTSU. I say, yes, my people are over. I say, OCTSU, I said, that's how you see me. I can go and study all them years for coming to OCTSU because TSU seen as a dumping ground. What the hell? Anyway, here what you buy do. I started classes. I recognized that TSU was seen in a certain way. And I set out to transform that image in my own little way. I started having classes in maths, English, social studies. I started having those classes at TSU, right? I am proud to say that at least one of my students now holds a PhD, right? Now, I started doing that. I understand that I might be wrong, but instructions also apparently came down that I must be sent on parades. People did not know of my history, so they wanted to embarrass me. You see the point I'm making? I must go on parades, go to opening and this opening the door.
Right.
They didn't know my history. So of course, they get egg in the face. And it reached a stage where I was told by, and you see another thing, Cleveland. People must be careful when they're talking. Human beings tend to see the driver, the cook, the gardener as non-persons that don't exist. Yeah. And so they would let the gardener talk things in the presence. And that's a mistake I don't make, because before going to that, I'll tell you what my mother told me years ago as a boy. My mother said to me, Patrick, in this life, don't go wrong believing you're better than others. But at the same time, don't let nobody believe they're better than you. My mother told me so, right? So my friends have been the cook, the driver, them the people who got the ears to the ground, who just hear things that people and they sell things. So
people they call low life people, huh? Some people call them low life people.
Yeah. Okay. Some people even want to call them hungry belly. Yeah. So then a man come to me and said, Chief, I hear something. I hear a talking in a certain office that I ain't gonna mention it. We're saying with a lot of expletives. We send it there for Yokno University. We send it for Yokno University. So we can deal with it in another.
And you trying to change the lives of your colleagues, of fellow police officers, seen in a negative way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because that was not the intention. The intention was to send me to punish me. Right? Yeah. So you buy indignant. Hmm? So anyway, that's to show you the way people think. And as much you will try your best to effect change, but as long as that change that you would like to bring about, that change does not fit into other people's scheme of things, you ain't going nowhere. Especially if you really got the kind of power.
Of course, because you could have a vision, but people have to water it. And if they're not buying into that and watering it for you, you just have the vision.
But you asked about my relations with the media. The
Public,
relations, I think our relationship, it was on sound footing. It was on sound footing so much so that every newscast or publication would mention Patrick Mentore, public relations, Patrick Mentore. And it got so annoying to some in some quarters that instructions were passed down that any release going out must not mention Patrick Mentore anymore. Must just put Ghana Police Force. You understand?
wow, wow. Look, we can talk more about that. I got some friends coming on in and saying, I know Sean O. Sampson. He is the CEO at a famous radio station in Brooklyn, who is definitely doing his part of what we're doing right here. Impactful, being impactful. He's saying good morning. He's probably in Kenya. I don't know. Sean travels a lot, so he's probably in Kenya, in the UK or somewhere. But good morning to you, Sean. Good night here. It's nighttime here for us, and good night to you, Deborah Anderson, and those of you coming in now. Those of you who are peeping in, not dropping a comment in, silent incognito, please come on in and at least say good night to Mr. Mentore. He did good service for Guyana, and I'm spotlighting him. This is storytelling right here. This is Forefront Today. And so thank you all for coming in and dropping your comments and asking your questions too. Sean O. Sampson, if you got a question, this is your chance to drop it in. But you're still here in the land of the living, Mr. Mentore. You're seeing the kind of media reporting in this time. What is your concern about what you're seeing as a whole media representative?
The media reporting from the mainstream media, you mean?
For the police, from the police.
Oh, nah, there's
You're not gonna go there.
I could go there.
Okay.
I could go there. I am fearful of nothing. I might be cautious, but people tend to take caution for cowardice, and I am no coward. They could do with some brushing up. They could do with some help. The thing with help and the offer of help is that people tend to look at the offerer as against looking at what is being offered. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. I hear that. But why is public trust so important in policing, Mr. Mentore?
Because, I believe that the public needs to be comforted and comfortable and have the confidence that when they go to bed at night or when they're walking on the road, that they know they have a police force that looks out for them. Nobody wants to know that there is a police force that if you get into an interaction with them, that you end up being the sufferer. Nobody wants that. And I think that is the core issue. The fear of crime is a significant factor, and the inability of persons to fully and wholly trust the police, right? And I'm saddened by that. I did a post a while back where I mentioned that black parents in particular, must speak to their children about how they must behave if in an interaction or an encounter with the police. You see,
over here we have a black book. We have a black book. I don't know if people are still using it. We had a black book. It should be still in existence, where we teach our young people how to behave, how to react, how to deal with police interventions here in the U.S. So I need to look for that black book and share it.
Well, you see, when you say deal, sometimes when I look and see how black people in America, how the interaction goes, sometimes I say to myself, oh shucks, man. I myself even say, man, at least he could relax. But the man can't relax like I saw one yesterday. If one policeman pulling me, another one coughing me, and then it end up is that's the wrong person. It's the wrong person, and stamping in here. I know that old as I am, I don't promise anybody to be peaceful in this circumstance. Sorry, I can't make it.
Yeah. But you were involved in public relations proposals, code of conduct conversations, police performance frameworks, community policing, internal affairs, ideas, road safety strategy, public expectations of policing, and the rule of law, and we can go on and on. What are some of the things the law enforcement institutions uh, must do to maintain that credibility?
All right. I ain't gonna argue because I say maintain. If you say retain, it may be more appropriate. But what I must do. For example, you mentioned, I think you mentioned traffic strategy or road, something like that.
Road safety.
People got, it has reached a stage now where I say is not if you'll be involved in a road accident. It has reached a stage where I say when you will be involved in a road accident. Because that is how it seems every day. It's not a matter of if anymore, it's a matter of when. And that in itself, I think that if the force comes up with a workable and implementable road management plan with all the bells and whistles, the strategies and all of that, I think they'd go far away in gaining the approval of getting back in the good books of the public, right? If they only need, my point is this: on one occasion, I recommended that there should be a stakeholder forum, and it was deemed as being too political. Without reading it, the idea that Mentor said or suggested that there should be a stakeholder forum so that people would understand clearly the challenges of policing, what how we look at the expectations of the public, we look at the expectations of the police, look at how they do, and nobody read it. All they said is political. And what is bothersome is that even when someone comes up with the idea for the most part is more a half-baked PR exercise. I'm trying hard to be kind here
Yeah.
because one, if people were to if people were to look at the things that we did when I was head of strategic management, things that we did, they recognize how far along the development trajectory we will have gone. If we had, but nobody wanted to acknowledge that a group of civilians, because I was a civilian by that time, a group of 10 civilians could be so presumptuous as to advise us on how we could move a strategic plan or a strategic framework along. So
So
here we are.
yeah, trying to reinvent something. I learned police work a lot from working at the outpost there at East Rumville when I
Yeah.
worked the night shift. I read a lot of reports from detectives, of great detectives, um, big volumes of books or diaries and reports, and it is traceable where you can go back and see what was done in Mr. Mentor's time, and you could improve it, you could enhance it, you could even add value to it by recognizing that this is work done. A lot of times we want to reinvent the wheel when stuff is already there, that people place a lot of emphasis and effort in getting done, and we don't want to go back there because of who that person was or who that administration was, and we know pedaling backwards instead of we're not taking the country or a place in a better position if we can take a moment to look back and recognize and appreciate the good work of people like Larry Lewis, people like you, people like Paul Slow, You guys put some good work in there. Who is
But
who is listening?
Cleveland, I think just as importantly, especially at our stage of development, is the economic cost. The economic
Okay.
cost of ignoring good ideas that are already there. There's an economic cost when you're going to ignore that and go start over for reinvent the wheel. Because now, invariably, you got to take people who are unacquainted with what has gone before, people who are ignorant of the construct and the, the the intricate aspects of a concept, and you gotta go spend money. Now, it boggles the mind.
Yeah.
It boggles the mind that people are not. I don't know, man.
You work at a lot of places that we can't even touch tonight because your
I
resume
know.
is so extensive. You worked with the embassy. You worked, uh, press, media, and public communication. I'm telling you, man, your resume is extensive. If you come to me for an interview, I'll say you overqualified. You know, I
Yes,
wouldn't even look at ageism. I wouldn't go to ageism. I would just say
there
Mr.
it is so
Mentore.
far.
But because you have earned so many certificates, and I saw a post on my great nephew there when he was saying saying happy birthday to Mr. Granger, um, when people were apparently talking about his education, and then he have all his certificates behind him when he gave his speech. That's remarkable. That you don't have to tell people what you have. It's behind you. It's behind you. You're looking to the front. You're not even looking back at what you earned,
Correct, correct.
right? And that's so remarkable about Mr. Granger when it comes to that. But what motivated you to study political science and international studies?
I wanted to prove a point to myself. I wanted to prove a point to myself. I was living in Bordeaux at the time, and there was this lady, Donna De Silva. She was married to the late Vincent De Silva, Sweetie Man. You remember Sweetie Man from
I
Albion?
remember the name. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
She was married in the we were neighbors. And in the mornings and stuff, I would cook. I would cook. My wife preparing the children and stuff. And I would be whistling. I'm a happy soul when I get going. But then I used to engage in um, some some bad habits, drinking. And she said to me, Adi, and she would hear me um, roughing up my son, to hold something in his head.
Mm,
And she said to me, Adi, she said, but you know something? Why don't you go to university? You're an intelligent person, you just go to work, you come home your day, and she said that to me was the effect. And I said to myself, you know something? She's making sense. But here, prior to that, 10 years before I eventually went to university, 10 years before I had applied to go to university, and there was this um, thinking in the army that you got to be a major and all that kind of crap before you go to university. Yeah, that's what I was told. I went to university 10 years after that, right? And I went because the woman, Dano De Silva, encouraged me. And I went, and I could recall you went to the interview, you do the entrance exam and all that kind of stuff. I did the last entrance exam at that time, yeah. And I had to go to an interview. And Dr. Mark Corton is the person who said he had absolutely no objection to me, because when he looked at my experience and my what have you, he recognized that to him I was a good friend. He remains my friend up to today, like today. I could recall applying to do law and I went there and Professor Rudy James came up the step. I was sitting waiting. There was Tara, the clerk. She was there. She was looking for my stuff or something. And Professor Rudy James came up. He said, he saw me. And he said, "Young man, you getting through?" And I said, "Yes, I'm waiting Taro to get some stuff." And he went to Taro and he said, "The young man out there who was it with him, you know? And she explained. He said, bring the papers, let me see. And the man called me and he said, I don't know what the holdup is. This youngster is eminently qualified to be accepted into the law program. But for one reason or the other, I never got it. But I never went. But I recall coming out of Brigdama D, and this person, I won't call his name, he speaks of it whenever we meet and there are people around. He was coming out of Brigdama D. I was walking back to headquarters because I like walking. And he said, where you going? I said, going to headquarters, Eve Leary. He said, jump in, I'm going to drop you. And when we go in, something he said to me, and it brought him the conversation of university. And I said, man, you should go university, you know. And he said, yeah, you know, he was kind of hesitant. And I said, yeah, go university. I said, you go ahead. I think I even mentioned somebody could have talked to. The man went to university. The man qualified. And the man, whenever he speaks to people, he said, this is the one who make I go to university, you know. He make I go to university, you know. But that's the way I am. My name is Mentore. And if you take off the E as you have done in your post, it becomes Mentor.
Yeah,
You would agree. I think you would agree that there are people, you have met people in life whose names signify who they are. And I see myself as a mentor. I see myself as somebody who likes to guide people. I might not have taken much guidance as a youth from people, but I try to live up to my name without the E, if you know what I mean.
yeah. But in this same on this same platform, you can guide some people because do you believe more public servants should study governance, politics, law, and community relations?
If I were to dissect what you said, I would say don't fight up to study political science.
Okay.
Don't fight up to study. Nobody listens to you anyhow. Governance can make you become frustrated because if you don't see the principles of governance being applied in your national life or in your community life, you become frustrated and bitter. In terms of community development, if you got the kind of we would call belly, you can go ahead and push yourself. I could recall promoting a lot of stuff in my area, pushing a lot of stuff. And it became so frustrating that my wife and daughter, my eldest daughter, said to me on about 2 occasions, you're going to push yourself and kill yourself, and these people are going to steal the heat. They told me that, and I started to, after a bit of hedging, I started to relax. Because let me tell you, only because I didn't measure it, we had at the time some good land at the back of the scheme. And I said, you know something? We could have on the eastern side of the main road for 2 streets. This is East Street is 50. East Street separated by 200 feet. And going down might be anything like what's here about 1,000 feet. And I say if we have 200 feet, make it 400, and then going back, so build a farm, get a farm. And I had friends at the time that I could have spoken with and got livestock and stuff and plant stuff and all of that. And we could have had in front the scheme a market day. We could have bought a small van from a certain man. I don't think he's in business now. And we could have gone to a fisherman co-op because we were cooperative, and we could have get fish and stuff, and like you get your market the other day. I said on the other side, the same area, On the other side, the western side of the road, we could have like a cemetery. We have you build mausoleum or crypts or whatever they call it, and people, like they do overseas. John Jones paved the sea.
Preserving the dead. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And people, no support, no lack of vision, and that's why they're gonna perish, right? Because
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, for the most part, a lot of people they're mining grass. That's what they're mining. I mean, I gotta dig at them. But no, anyway, we don't.
Yeah.
I argued for a civic center to be built in here, that they could find somewhere the youths could go somewhere in the afternoon. They could find in the area, they could do whatever they had to do right there under the watchful eyes of the community. You got somewhere that the elderly people could have met and they discuss development plans and all of that. They have no way, was it? So,
Wow.
you know,
But not all the ideas people will buy into. But you have a plethora of certificates. You work at the embassy. You did surveillance detection operations.
well, the
Post.
embassy, without going into it, I'll just say the embassy thing was a bit of a sour note. So, it was
Okay, good.
good.
I'll
There
skip
was,
over that. But fraudulent document detection training you had.
yeah.
You had a Department of Justice Immigration Naturalization Service as training. How did that training sharpen your professionalism? And talk to us about what did you learn about confidentiality, perhaps international security, diplomatic professionalism. Talk to us about that.
I'll answer it in this way. I'll answer it this way. That it taught me that a lot that the public out there thinks it knows in the half of it. And it tells you that you are in a privileged position in terms of information, that if it goes out, if you take, as we say, if you take God out your thoughts and let go out, they're gonna know it's you anyhow. So the best thing for
Okay.
you is keep it. If you know it, you keep it to yourself. You see it and forget it. It's as simple as that.
And do you think there's a breakdown in confidentiality now in your view? Are you concerned about it happening now in your view?
You see, because people feel that their access to confidential information gives them an advantage over others, there is always a likelihood that that confidentiality will be broached. There is always a likelihood that people will seek to capitalize on the fact that they know things that others do not know. And if they were to become more mercenary and let it out, the untold damage that it can make, nobody really gives much thought to. So, but there is obviously, people sign on to confidentiality clauses, but a confidentiality clause for some people is just a piece of paper that they sign and it's done with that.
Mm.
They finish it, you know.
All right.
They may well feel justified in that kind of mental approach, but I don't know.
I like this tenure of you working as a human resources and quality management with
Marad,
maritime administration. Yeah, tell us what was that experience like?
it was one that and I got to express my thanks to Miss Scarlett Rogers. She had been trying to get me to work there for years, and I used to dodge, and she eventually got me there. It was what I found. I would always find interesting is the working with different people, different um, types of people, having to understand or seek to understand the different challenges, seek to understand what makes them, what motivates them, and to keep them engaged, keep them engaged with the objective of bringing out um, the best performance. You know, obviously you have the challenge. You have the one and two who pose a challenge to your understanding of how matters could be resolved. Yeah, but I guess that makes it all the more interesting. That makes it all the more interesting. I found the quality management aspect, and it's something that I push for these days because up to yesterday or today, I was saying to somebody, you can have the most modern building, but unless your quality of service and your systems and your processes are understood, you ain't going anywhere because you know why? If everybody in a process, if everybody does not understand what he or she must do, you would not know, you would not see a system working efficiently. You will not see a process working for the benefit of the organization. You will have reputational damage if you're not careful. All right. Um, one needs to have, for example, I would always argue that if you don't have a process flow chart, for example, as simple as that, you wouldn't know where the bottlenecks are. You wouldn't know the where things are going wrong. You wouldn't know which officer does not have a clear grasp of what he or she is supposed to do at a particular point in time. You wouldn't know who doesn't understand his or her actions are being relied on by somebody else along the chain, you know, and therefore you will have dissatisfaction, you'll have people complaining, and your modern amenities will be to no avail because you'll be busy fighting fires and treading water, you know, like the duck. The duck look calm at the top, calm and ruffled at the top, but the paddle like hell at the bottom below surface, you know.
I think most people understand human relations and quality management, but what I think you can expound on a little bit is maritime administration. What happens over there in that
Oh,
department?
well, basically, the Maritime Administration Department is the regulatory body that for all maritime affairs. They've got a few good people over there. As I said, they got a bunch of good people over there, and they ensure that they are in line with the International Maritime Organization, the conventions, and all the like. They have they're in control of what we call a ship registry, which has the names and the tonnage and all them kind of stuff of all flag vessels, all vessels that carry the Guyana flag. You might have been hearing in recent times of vessels carrying false flags. And they are there to ensure that IMO is apprised of these breaches, etc. And they are expected to demonstrate, I'm giving the simplified version, to demonstrate their compliance with these conventions and all the treaties and articles they will have signed on to. That
So,
basically
so,
that's
so you guys, some of your members from that maritime administration would have to go up the river and check on boat licensing and all that kind of stuff.
yes, that's one part of the job. That's one part of the job. They do pilotage, which is bringing those vessels, foreign vessels, bring them through into the what do you call it, the harbor? No, I can't remember. You bring it into the harbor.
Okay.
Some go as far as Linden and stuff like that. Go the Borbis River, right? The pilots they do storing work.
So
And
everyone with a boat in Guyana should be having a license to operate a boat on the water. Would you say?
yes. There ought to be no exemption. There ought to be no exemption. Even those little water taxis or speedboats, as we call them, they're supposed to be, at least the captains are supposed to be licensed And I think that the vessels are also licensed. I'm not quite certain on that. But I
Okay.
know
And,
the operators must be licensed.
and is that the same place you would go to find out what are your do's and don'ts in excursion boat cruises? What can be done on boats or not? I mean, the violations, the rules.
They,
Would that be the administration to deal with that?
generally, yes. Generally, yes. As it concerns the waterways, right? Transport and Harbors Department, they have control of that. The riverine transport, public transport, that is transport and harbors. They are responsible for that. Maritime is responsible. They have the harbor master. They have, as I said, the pilots. They have ship surveyors and stuff like that. But
Awesome.
they work in conjunction. Transport and Harbors and Maritime Administration, they work in conjunction.
Awesome. Awesome. It's getting late now, and I know you at that age where you sleep early at 9 o'clock, perhaps.
Oh, you know the things so good. To
I
the point
know,
that
right?
when I listen to my audiobook, it's falling in my chest.
But you're like my mom. I could tell when I want to go, especially on Saturday night, I want to get away to go to the live bands like somebody mentioned, Receivers guys and Yoruba singers at night, Saturday night. I just wait until she see hear that announcement, and I hear that and I jumped. I leave the door open or jump through the window either way because I got to go see my live band, and I want to get in the dance out early so that they don't stop me when they start collecting money.
I see this
I go and help
battery
the
on
guys unpack.
I see this battery on this computer going down. But one thing, what was the thought just came to me.
Send
They-
for your charger. Send for your charger quick, because it might.
Here then,
In the meantime, I am talking to Mr. Patrick E. Mentore, and we didn't take a break because he's so full of talking about his journey. But we can take a break and come back to him in a moment if you guys don't mind sticking and stay with me.
Ottawa, hey, this is more than a show. This is a movement where real stories are told, where voices are heard and lives are changed. From struggle to strength, from pain to purpose. Forefront today, where voices rise, where truth is told, where purpose comes alive. I am DJ Quinn, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today, only on Forefront today. I am DJ Quinn, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today, only on Forefront today. Forefront today, Forefront today, Forefront today, Forefront today. Forefront today, Forefront today, Forefront today. Forefront today, Forefront today. Forefront today. Stay inspired. Stay empowered. Stay forefront. Forefront today. 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 I am DJ Quick, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today. Only on Forefront today.
That's right. We bring you the stories that matters right here, storytelling, and I am bringing to you the story of Mr. Patrick E. Mentore. Got a few moments with him to ask him some weird quick questions and do rapid fire pour out. Mr. Mentore, thank you for your patience, your time, and your service, man, in the military and also in the police force. Thank you so much for serving your country. 83,000 square miles. You talked to me about health, and last month we dealt with men's health, and I wanted to see if you didn't want to talk to men about how we are to take care of our health, even though we are out of the month of Father's Day and Men's Health. Many men avoid health screenings, and why do you think this happens? What advice do you have for men over 40? How are you dealing with your condition? How important is exercise and nutrition, mental health, and regular checkups? So talk to us. We are looking forward for getting some wisdom from you, Mr. Mentor, and welcome back.
Yes, thank you, Cleveland. Interesting questions. I don't know that I'm a poster boy for good health, and I am that much qualified to speak about what can be done. But I'll share this with you that for most of my life I have been active. I've been very active. Um, uh, Up to this morning, I went for a walk after a long while. I don't know, something got me up and I went for a walk. Um, if I were to uh, repeat the things I've been hearing, I know that, for example, you mentioned Paul Slow earlier. Paul Slow in his program has been encouraging um, people to check on their health, to check up on their health. As a matter of fact, I had once written something on occupational ailments that affect people in certain occupations, and I was thinking particularly about the military and the police, right? And I was concerned actually with the fact that NIS has a moribund policy of saying that what you weren't, if you had no prior complaint of a certain ailment before you reach 60, they cannot assist you, which I think is a bunch of nonsense, right? Because, for example, let us say you're in the army or the police force, there are certain things that would bother you. When you reach 60, they manifest themselves. So, how can you tell somebody who has served, who have given their productive years to their
Yeah.
country, that they can't benefit? Is nonsense. Anyway, I would suggest to people that they do not hesitate to have checks. As a matter of fact, police, as I think a part of its anniversary celebrations, had today had a health fair where people could have gone and had they could have gone and have checks done, dental, vision,
Prostate,
blood work.
prostate
I
check.
I don't know if they did that. I know that Eureka Labs, in collaboration with somebody, this is the second year they did prostate examinations in terms of the
Intravenous
prostate specific and PSA,
PSAs, okay?
prostate antigen, right? They did it by way of blood work, right? And so I would suggest to people, and I speak to everyone over, I guess, 40, not even 40, you are ready to reach 40, to keep in mind that your health, when you reach my age, and I'm 73 now, I ain't shame for telling my age, is that you
You
want
look
to
good,
be,
man. You look good, brother.
well, I try with them. You don't want to be walking decrepit and with it. You know, I don't pretend to be who I'm not. I am naturally a physical person, and I try to keep myself active mentally so that I don't decline as fast you know as some people do. You know, but people should not hesitate to go and have checkups. Have yourself your own personal physician. Go speak with him or her. Because when people know who they're dealing with, is that it makes it that much easier to detect when something is going wrong and to be able to address it before it gets worse or likely to go south. So people ought to be able to check on those things, and NIS ought to revisit that policy that they have, so that people would appreciate whatever they're after.
As a father in the police service, in the military, and in so many organizations you work, You know, we as fathers go through a whole lot. What have you learned from those years as a father? Did you feel that you didn't get a chance to spend enough time with your children, with your family, trying to give up your service to Guyana, to the police service, to the military? What is your feelings about now? I mean, looking back, do you feel any
Um,
deprivation?
I would tell you this, that I think that's a very important question. Very important because I said on one occasion, as I tell you, I do a lot of writing, that people need to appreciate the fact, as you mentioned it there, that servicemen and women, for their children are more likely to become deviants than those who live in cloistered homes and who have not given or offered themselves in service in the discipline services. We are more likely to have our children becoming delinquents. Not only the people in uniform services, security guards too. And where the security guards come from, at least up to about 10 years ago, they came from the discipline services. And we find is that women and men working in the discipline services, they leave the children at home, let's say, and the children are left unless they have that deep influence, parental influence. They are left to the mercy Tiberius, as my father would say, right? And therefore, you're likely to have more teenage pregnancies. You're likely to have people smoking up and all them kind of thing. I don't know how best to put it, but my thing is that one of the occupational hazards of serving in the military and the police forces that you're likely to be away from your family. And being away from your families means that you're present, you're not there, unless at the early stage of socialization, you have made that impact on your child's life, an impact on your child's psyche, that your absence would not lead to negative consequences, right? But then again, how many of us are lucky to be there in those formative years consistently? How many? And therein lies the danger. Therein lies the danger. My advice would be that under the circumstances the thing you gotta look at. You need to seek a balance. People talk about work-life balance and all of that. You need to seek a balance on how you raise your children while at the same time you're giving your service. I am almost certain that many times the two are incompatible. And therein lies the danger of delinquency and teenage pregnancy and bad academic grades and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah. I kind of just, I'm reminded of some of my colleagues who had families, who had children. I mean, I had just one son, and they were transferred suddenly to areas in the interior. In some cases, the families, the wives, and the children couldn't move with them. They had to go to Gokwani, they had to go up the river, and they had to go to Madia, different places. What is your take on empathy, perhaps, of our leaders in terms of placing our young men and women into rural areas, interior areas, especially if they have a family?
Um, that thing, that movement, unless the persons came from the areas that they are sent, that movement used to be done as a punishment, you know. But here the
Okay.
part, here the irony is that the interior locations have proved to be lucrative. And so you can't really send a man to the bush now for punishing because he can go make money. You
Okay.
see? So there's a paradox involved there. It's paradoxical because you're sending to punish him, but he goes and he makes the money, generally speaking. But bear in mind, he's away from his family. And no amount of money that he works for, if he has not made that impression in the formative years of this child, the money make no sense. My God, take the same money, bail the child, we're going to jail steady. You
Mm,
see,
yeah.
are looking after ill health people to go pick up sexually transmitted infections, etc., because it's it's a bit hard to really think about these things. It's rough.
Awesome. Awesome. It's storytelling time here on Forefront today with Mr. Patrick Mentore. Worked in so many places, wore so many hats, and I get him exhausted, man. My agenda is exhausted right now. I'm so grateful that you're here to drop some knowledge to us here, some nuggets. I have a section that I always ask my people to come in with some water, some wine, whatever you guys know would wet your whistle. And this is a segment here where you give one word answers, or just if you want to expound on a sentence, I'll take it. And so this is called the rapid fire, right? So one word answer if you may, if not, if you feel like you want to expound it, you can tell me more, okay? Are you ready, Mr. Mentor?
Let's go.
All right. Your favorite book, sir?
You mean genre, or are you talking about a book per se?
Give me what you would want
Okay,
to keep in
my
your cabinet.
a book that I have recommended to people is a book called The New Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Following that would be 48 Laws of Power, that speaks a lot
Mm,
about Machiavelli.
awesome. And that book there, I got to read that book, man, because I love to learn new things. Is that by who's that writer? Who's that writer of that book? So if you can find it,
John
Perkins,
Perkins,
John Perkins. Okay, and 40 Laws of Power. You said
48 Laws of Power.
48 Laws of Power. Okay, all right, I'll take that. Thank you so much for that. Your favorite leader?
Um, we talking. Oh, he left me on a limb there.
Yeah, I want to put you on a limb, but don't fall. There's water and alligator under you, so be careful.
My favorite leader. Uh, this is what past, contemporary we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm gonna take anyone.
I'm tempted to say Donald Trump, you know.
Well, to be honest, he has some qualities. He's a father. He has some kids. I mean, he looks like he's steering his home well. So there's some leadership in him. But so if you say that, I'll take it. I can pull the good
Why
out of
I
any
take
bad
it is
person.
because I could say that because I know people, they won't come back at me, but if I say anything else,
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to get a lot of detractors and dissenters and all like. But I would say Donald Trump for many reasons, and not
All right.
necessarily favorable reasons.
Okay.
You
All
know?
right. All right. We might spend all night on that because I might challenge that. But I do appreciate that he's a father. Looks like he stayed his family well. He has left a legacy for them, perhaps riches for them. And so that's what most of us men are working our lives out here trying to do. But he's accomplished that. So we can pull some positives from that. However he acquired it, we don't know. But so far, his children are well off, better than I am living. And that's a good thing for us to look at. Look,
But hold
he is
on,
a father.
Cleveland, I don't want your viewers and your listeners running off the program because it says, they don't know me. So they got to take anything I say in their regard with a pound of salt. Okay, good.
Okay, good. All right. We're not gonna a pound of salt is gonna just dissolve. That's good. Let's use salt in that because a lot of salt and meat can do some good damage. So yeah, we'll use a pound of salt in that. But your favorite leader is not Donald Trump, I know.
Definitely
I'm
not.
gonna, so who would you choose?
My favorite leader, Fidel Castro. I think
Okay,
this is safe. The safe. No. Hold on. I might come back to Obama, but I think Castro is the safest bet.
okay, all right. I'll take that because if I let you expound, you're gonna want to draw some contrast and comparables. So let me move on. Your favorite Guyanese food?
Favorite Guyanese food. Mm. When I cook it, I like my pepper pot.
Pepper pot. Do you put a big old pepper inside, or you put it afterwards?
Put it inside if you really want the pepper. We gotta get born.
Okay, cool, cool. So you like pepper pot when you're eating it, your eyes must run water, your nose must be running. That kind
Yeah,
of pepper
then you
pot.
realize you get the flu.
Oh, yeah, you're making me want to think about that right now, man. Pepper pot is your favorite food. I like that. One word to describe Guyana.
Um, complex.
Complex. All right, I'll take that. I know if you expound on that, we will be here till 11 o'clock.
You
Your
know, right?
favorite childhood memory?
Favorite childhood memory. Going to the market with my mother.
Okay. I saw that almost every market in Guyana. Grove, Non-Repo, Kitty, Diamond, Linden, Berbice. I walked to the village of Bath Settlement to sell mango. I sell all over the place. But yeah,
Mm.
I could appreciate that. My mom and I used to be doing that. And then when I was of the age, I did that alone. Thanks for that so far. You're doing well in your rapid fire. Some more questions. Your biggest lessons you learned, or one biggest lesson that you learned policing taught you?
Never take anything for granted.
Okay, never take anything for granted. And the most important leadership quality you find so far in you?
Um, Having empathy, but not being afraid to take hard decisions.
Awesome. Most important family value for you?
Uh, Being an example to your family.
Mm, awesome. Uh, Winston said he just bought that book. You see, you inspired people already. That's awesome. Uh, your biggest regret, Mr. Mentor?
Biggest regret is never, I think, being too self assured at certain points in my life. Being too self
Self-confident, self-assured,
assured.
self-assured. Okay, I'll take that. Being too self-assured. We can learn from these things, folks. Are you listening? Are you learning, my people? I hope you're taking notes. Uh, your biggest accomplishment, what would that be?
Staying married for 45 years.
Wow, congratulations. 45 years. We got to big up your wife. What's your wife's name?
Claudette.
Hey, Claudia, thank
Claudette.
you so much for keeping my friend. He still look young. He's still sharp. He's got all his faculties is working well. That means she give you good balgo, good
You know,
sleep,
right?
good rest. And she made you stop worrying about a lot of things. So we bigging you up, wifey. Thank you so much. And then you have some children who probably support you, held your hand up like Moses, held you up and supported you, I believe. Then you got
Yes, yes,
grandchildren.
yes.
That is awesome. But one thing that you would still like to achieve, Mr. Mentor.
Hmm. I guess one thing I'd like to achieve is becoming wealthy with no worries.
Mm.
That ain't gonna happen.
Because I know if
Once
you're
you get
wealthy,
no worries. Yeah?
because I know if you get wealthy, you will buy 150 acres. You'll have your burial ground. You will have your civic center. You
Everything,
will have
everything.
your chicken farm. You would have everything on that 150. I know if you get. There's some of us we won't get rich because we'll definitely take care of the village. If I get rich like that, I'll go to number 5 and all the people who I know inspired me, supported me. I'll make sure they're living good, nice big homes, a pool in the yard, some of them used to like boards. I'd make sure they get a board cage. These things, some people like, and if you're able to do it, make people's
Yeah.
life better. You agree? But
That's
some of
true.
us might not attain that kind of riches, so that we can be of good support to our communities. But I pray that you got rich, because I know when you got rich, you'll call me, and I'll definitely either be. I don't mind being your bodyguard. I don't mind being your driver. I know when you got rich, you'll find your friends, right? Is that true, right? You'll find your friends, right, Mr. Mentor?
The friends that find you first, buddy.
But this section is very moving to pouring out, and I got a few minutes more, 3 minutes more perhaps. I'm gonna make you pour out some things before you go. Okay, is that okay?
Let's go.
I want you to complete these sentences. I am happiest when
People around me are happy.
nice. I feel the same way. My greatest teacher was
Adversity.
My greatest challenge of my career was
Greatest challenge, my career, would have been having appear being dismissive of your ideas. How to
okay.
basically how to accept with equanimity people being dismissive of your ideas or your concepts.
Rejection perhaps of your ideas. Okay, I'll
Yes,
take
yes.
that. If I could change one thing in Guyana, in that sentence.
If you could change one thing in Guyana, I would change the system of the electoral system.
Okay. Young men need to what?
Young men need to be respectful of themselves and others.
I'll take that from you. Young women should what?
Young women should understand their self-worth and understand that they need to respect themselves before they can be respected.
Oh, you're pouring out. You're pouring out. Family should what?
Families should instill important core values in their offspring and to be an example for others in the community.
Awesome. You're pouring out. You're pouring out. You got a few more to go. Reading is, finish that for me.
Reading is the foundation of reasoning.
And service is,
Service, I could ask the service what? But service, I think service is to find a word. Service can bring about self-actualization, you know. If I was looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, service may well bring about self-actualization.
okay. And leadership is what?
Leadership, I consider leadership is not.
Okay, we could do the compare.
Leadership is not tyranny.
Okay, not tyranny.
Leadership is empathy, and as I think I said before, leadership is empathy, willingness to follow, but unafraid to step up to lead.
Well, then what is integrity? What does integrity means to you, Mr. Mentor? Finish the
Integrity,
sentence. Integrity means,
integrity means acting in a way that behaving in a way or acting in a way that as if no one is watching, behaving in the same way that you would when you're alone, as if others are watching.
that is awesome. Yeah, that's pretty much textbook definition right there. And success is what for you?
Success is overcoming all the odds to achieve your objectives, but at the same time, recognizing that your initial objective, if not achievable, you must be pragmatic enough to understand your limitations. All right. Success means to me then achieving in spite of your limitations, but knowing when to say when.
Awesome, awesome. I see folks are trying to reach you, so let me make you get out here real quick. What is legacy to you, Mr. Mentor? Legacy.
Legacy. and I think of people like Lindsey Graham and another local one, Venti. Legacy is where what people say about you after you will have passed is what you will have said about yourself when you were alive.
And this is a good segue to this one. My grandchildren should always remember what?
My grandchildren should always remember that their grandparents were to be looked up to.
You leave me hanging there. You got some more?
Nah, they were to be looked
Okay.
up to. The grandparents were to be looked up to. You can cut
Okay.
examples wherever, but that's it. Left you hanging with that one.
Okay, good. But God has taught me what? God has taught me what? Are you believing
Yeah,
there's a God, Mr.
God has
Good.
taught me that patience and perseverance with faith. Or put it the other way, faith with patience and perseverance
Hmm.
can work wonders in your life.
And now a word from you for retired professionals. What would you say to people who are retired? Many people think that retirement means stopping. You continue
No,
to contribute. Why?
yeah. I think retirement. I'm past retirement age. I've never really
Okay.
retired anyway, but retirement should be seen as a milepost, not necessarily finishing line, but should be seen as a milepost that you meet, and you look beyond the milepost to what else you can do to make yourself to remain useful to yourself and to others.
That is awesome. Uh, I'm so grateful for your time, man. I'm telling you, with all the questions I've asked you, might have been more than 100. I might have missed some. Um, I always believe that you might want the world to know something more about you that I didn't ask. What would be that paragraph, that word, that sentence that I might have overlooked of Mr. Patrick E. Mentor tonight?
Um, why the world would know of me is that the world would know of me that, as people say, what you see is what you get. There is no duplicity in me. I believe in shooting from the hip. I try to be as respectful as I can, but at the same time, I am not prepared. I'm not prepared to be disrespected. Yeah.
Awesome.
Simple.
Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick E. Mentor. Thank you for your decades of service. If, in case no one told you, thank you on behalf of the folks in the diaspora and the folks there in Guyana. Thank you so much for your service, your commitment to truth, your passion for community development, and your unwavering belief that knowledge, discipline, and integrity remain essential to nation building. Tonight, we have heard
Yes.
the story not just of a retired law enforcement officer, but of a lifelong public servant, humanitarian, mentor, advocate, husband, a father, and grandfather who continues to invest in people and the future of Guyana. So, to everyone watching, remember this is our greatest inheritance. It's not about merely what we leave behind, but the lives that we influence while we are here. And so I want to thank you for joining us in CRL 365 Forefront today. I am RC Harlequin. Patrick know me as Cleveland. Some of you know me as other names, also known as DJ Quinn. Until next time, I want you guys to continue to celebrate those who serve, preserve our history, invest in knowledge, and never, never stop making a positive difference in your community. I want to thank you once again, my friend. Thank you for coming on in and sharing your story, man. Storytelling was nice here tonight, and I hope that someone is impacted by it. We already have a guy who purchased a book because you talked about it, and he's saying, I would live to be in touch with. He would love to be in touch with you. That's my friend, Mr. Winston T. Jacobs. So I'll share your numbers, your numbers with each other, so you guys can connect. And those of you who came in late and you want to know what's the topic, wasn't the topic? We don't have topics here. This is storytelling. We talk about the person, their endeavors, their journey, their support, their impact they make in this community. And so it is storytelling. The subject here is storytelling, and storytelling about the lives and the legacy of one person who's making a difference. And I know the world has been a better place with you, Mr. Patrick E. Mentore. Thank you too once
Thank
again.
you.
Extend my gratitude to your wife and your children, especially your grandson who got you set up on the camera.
Yes.
And I hope you have a rest of your life that is going to be fruitful, and that folks will continue to recognize that you make a difference. Thank you all once again for coming on
Thank you.
in.
Thank
And
you very
next
much
time,
for having
it's a
me.
pleasure.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Oliver.
Good night, everybody. Take
Thank
care of
you. Good
yourselves and each other. God bless.
Okay. Bye.
October, this is more than a show. This is a movement where real stories are told, where voices are heard and lives are changed. From struggle to strength, from pain to purpose. Forefront today, where voices rise, where truth is told, where purpose comes alive. I am DJ Quinn, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today, only on Forefront today. I am DJ Quinn, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today, only on Forefront today. Forefront today, what Forefront today, Forefront today, Forefront today. What Forefront today, Forefront today, Forefront today. What Forefront today, Forefront today. We're from today. Stay inspired. Stay empowered. Stay forefront. Forefront today. We're forefront today. Forefront today. Forefront today. We're forefront today. Forefront today. Forefront today. We're forefront today. Forefront today. I am DJ Quick, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today. Only on Forefront today. Forefront today. We're forefront today. Forefront today. Forefront today. We're forefront today. Forefront today. Forefront today. We're forefront today. Forefront today. I am DJ Queen. Money. Hold up. Hold up. In the big house, you're smiling wide. But the pot run dry on the other side. That's when money in a family chain. While the market road cry out again. Money. Black belly sheep in the yard. Pressing the and cattle and the pets. That was like swimming in a glassy plant. But the little man still can't catch a hand. Who pay light? Who pay rent? Poor man sweating for every cent. Who eat first? Who gets fed? While the carbon talk and the children dread. Not my money, not your money. Who you feeding? Who your honey? Black belly sheep, family fleet. Poor people.
in silk, but the riverbank still spit no milk. Stockyard full and the cooler full too. Tell me now what the poor man